4.5 points per game, 1.5 rebounds, and 1.5 assists on shooting splits of 35% from the field and 34% from 3. Those aren't exactly the kind of numbers you hope or expect from the number 3 overall pick in a draft. And as you'd expect, when you put up those kind of numbers, there are going to be people who think you're a bust, who think you're too small to make an impact at the NBA level. But what those numbers don't tell you is Reed Sheppard was drafted to one of the deepest and best teams in the NBA. And as a rookie guard in your first season, that can make things incredibly difficult. And whilst I'm not about to tell you he had a great season, I am about to tell you that we saw the glimpses of potential in Reed Sheppard's game that made him the 3rd overall pick. And if he puts all of that together on a Houston Rockets team that is already stacked, I mean, it's going to be scary. Look no further than the 25-5 game he had against the OKC Thunder, in which he was dicing up the best defense in the NBA with his shot making and craftiness. Just like here on his first bucket of the game, where he gets the handoff from Landale and he's just smart enough to keep Caruso on his hip, and it's just that little hop into the layup that throws off the block attempt from Caruso, or this time utilizing the screen. And if Chet isn't going to commit, Reed is going to make that free throw line jumper all day long. These were just a couple of examples of what Reed did from that game. And if he's able to cook the likes of Alex Caruso and that Thunder defense when given the opportunity, it wasn't surprising seeing him look dominant during Summer League as well, considering he looked dominant during last year's Summer League as well. But one thing that was noticeable in Summer League this year was the defense. And it's one thing to talk about it, but in the first 2 games we've seen of Reed this year, aka Summer League, he backed it up recording 11 stocks in 2 games. Yes, you heard me. And just watch him here, where he goes for the steal initially and doesn't get it, but he doesn't give up on the play, getting back into the play and blocking the shot. He has some weaknesses defensively. Well, one major weakness. His size. We have seen it countless times over the years with smaller guards getting targeted on defense. But what Reed lacks in size and maybe in strength, he's looking to make up for with defensive playmaking. Whilst he might get beat in isolation occasionally, his defensive playmaking can make up for that and more, with his ability to get in the passing lanes, his ability to anticipate passes, his ability to block shots despite his size. If done right, this kind of defensive playmaking can make up for some of his weaknesses on that end of the floor, and we saw it in college as well. This is not some random fluke. Reed has always been a guy with incredible defensive instincts. But that's enough talk about the defense. Let's talk about the offense, the real fun part of Reed's game. And for the most part, like we saw in college, it was Reed's shooting that stood out in his best performances during his rookie season. Again, going back to the OKC game, this time he's up against Cason Wallace, where it's just a simple drive left, and with Wallace draped all over him, he manages to control his body and get to that fadeaway. Look at him here against Wallace, and just the tempo, that little hesitation at the three-point line, the bump to get rid of him, and then the one-legged jumper. And as you can see, it's not like he was doing this against anyone. He was consistently getting where he wanted and the shot he wanted against one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. But that's one thing about Reed. Despite not having the best season by any means, even as a rookie, he didn't look rushed. He looked composed. He looked comfortable getting to his spots. It was just kind of a matter of not making as many shots as you would have hoped. I know that's a cop-out, but that's what I saw. And that was just one of 3 games Reed Sheppard started last year. In those 3 games, he averaged nearly 20 points and 5 assists while shooting 49% from the field and 52% from 3. Is that the smallest sample size ever? Yes. But one thing I will say is, despite it being a very small sample size, it was not against weak opposition, and they were not meaningless games either, with those 3 games coming against OKC and both LA teams, with all 3 of those teams playing their starters as well, yet he managed to give them 20 and 5 on average. That's all I'm saying. And another good indicator for me about how Reed can perform when given a chance is what he did in his 3 G League games. People trash the G League, but generally if you're 19 or 20 years old, it is not easy to dominate that league unless you are a very good player, and Reed absolutely dominated his 3 games, averaging 30 points and 7 assists, shooting 40% from 3 on 12 attempts. Obviously last year he didn't live up to expectations as a shooter at the NBA level, and whilst he didn't get much opportunity, there is still a level of growth he will have to make outside of just getting minutes to improve his overall game. Because if you've seen that Houston team, he's not going to be guaranteed minutes unless he can make the most of it in short stints until proven otherwise. But I also don't think it's a coincidence that in 3 G League games, that in the Summer League, in college, in the NBA games he started, he shot lights out every time he has played significant minutes. I think there should be no question mark over Reed Shepherd's shooting ability. You can question some other parts of his game, that is fair, but I expect the shooting to be absolutely legit starting next year. And it's shots like this that will just open up the rest of his game, where he gets the screen and with Hartenstein backpedaling, he just pulls from 3. Having that ability to just effortlessly pull up and hit 3s against bigs playing in drop coverage, or if they're not fully at the level, is just going to open up the rest of his game as a playmaker and as a scorer. And it's not as though it is rare for smaller guards to struggle early in their career. I mean, most young players struggle early in their career, but smaller guards in particular. Darius Garland was considered the worst player in the NBA during his rookie season. Look at Scoot Henderson from the year before, who is still adjusting. And the obvious difference between Reed and those guys is he barely got any opportunity. He had to enter every single game knowing if he made a mistake or he missed a shot, he was pretty much guaranteed to get pulled within the space of a minute, which is fine because Houston were looking to win a championship, but it just makes things that much more difficult for a player's development. And I hope this year Houston persist with giving him opportunity, because I promise you, you have enough depth and talent to work through some of Reed's young player struggles, because he has well and truly enough aspects of his game to help this team. Because in addition to the scoring and the potential defensive playmaking, he is also a great passer as well, with the ability to make plays like this.
After a slow start, the lob, and the foul! How about that Shepherd up top to N'Faly Dante?
Well, look at him this time, bringing the ball up the floor. He goes behind the back initially against Vanderbilt, and that shooting threat forces Vando to leave his feet, and with Vincent sleeping, he finds Dante for the easy 2. And the key here, as I've said, it is the shooting threat. If he is pulling up from 30 feet and making defenses pay, then they will be forced to trap him or blitz him, and all of a sudden that will open up the rest of the floor for everyone else. At the very least, Reed Shepherd is going to be so much better in year 2 than year 1, and for a team that is already stacked, that's pretty scary for the rest of the NBA. Now, if you made it all the way to the end of the video and want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel, it's free, drop a like on the video, have a great day, bye.